Hello, Substack friends. This is Richard Curiaga of 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad, except that I'm not a Major League ball player. Thanks for joining me, friends and followers and subscribers. This is my first podcast ever. I wanted to share with you some full disclosure before we get started. What follows is an infomercial for my new book. And there are many reasons why you might like it, because you're curious, because you're interested in maps, because you're interested in programming languages, or you just want to see what a first-time video looks like. But other people feel differently because they're death on advertising, which I can understand. It's a personal preference. And because some of the content is AI generated, in particular, my voice. 50 years ago, I was a weekend DJ at WKVT, Brattleboro, Vermont, CBS News for the Central and Southern Connecticut Valley. But my pipes haven't stood the test of time so well, and I thought I'd get some prosthetic aid on that. Hope nobody minds. Anyway, enjoy the show, and see you next time. Welcome to the Julia programming language for people who just want solutions. I'm your host, Richard Cariaga, and this is a production of the Diary of a Mad Data Scientist. Today's episode is a brief infomercial for my just published book, Julia Mapping, A Practical Guide. Hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions are available on Amazon now. I've had a lifelong fascination with maps because they draw the imagination into unknown realms. When I was a third grader, a National Geographic map of the world was taped to my bedroom wall. Despite its names, colors, and shapes, it was a vast blank canvas. Since then, I've been filling in the blanks, first as a reader, then as a geologist, and as a regional planner. Even after break as a corporate finance lawyer, I still love them. Julia Mapping is for academic researchers, journalists, or analysts in other organizations who have location-based data to communicate by providing instruction on creating publication quality maps. It assumes no prior programming experience. The aim is not to turn its readers into programmers or cartographers. Rather, readers will learn how confidently to use a relative handful of the features of the language to produce a variety of thematic maps. Tools can get you in trouble. When it comes to data, the big offender is spreadsheets. While a convenient way to enter data, it mainly serves to produce human error by combining data operations such as simple totals, for example, with formatting. Another wrong tool is the time-honored drafting table. Maps produced with ink on paper are no longer how we communicate. It demands skills, takes a long time, and requires specialized printing equipment. Even tools that are the right solution can stand between you and your goal. There's established proprietary software that does a great job with displaying complex geographic information, but leaves you on your own for collecting, cleaning, and analyzing the attributes. Then there are two well-established open source languages widely used in data science, Python and R. Python is general purpose, and R was developed specifically for applied statistics. Both can handle the attribute and geometry data needed for mapping, but they are charitably slow and clunky and full of syntax traps. Julia is a 21st century language invented at MIT. It's interactive like Python and R, so you don't have to wait to see the results of programs, but it's also compiled from human readable form into machine code on a just-in-time basis. That makes your programs run at speeds as fast as equivalent code in languages like C, Rust, and even Fortran. Just as R was written for statisticians by statisticians, Julia was written by engineers, and it does advanced maths like nobody's, but that power doesn't get in the way of economy of effort. Only a small portion of the capabilities of the language are needed. I've divided the book into 4 parts. The first is getting up and running with the Julia language, loading geographic and attribute data, combining them, and displaying them. Then we get into detail about data structure and how to slice and dice the data to clean it, sort it, add to it, or take away from it. Wrapping up part 1 is basic map plotting, including trimming the far-flung parts of the United States, such as the Marianas, and faithfully showing the spherical nature of the lay of the land. Part 2 takes up the design elements and explains how to expand choices, but not go crazy. Do you find yourself visually checking out reading in the same tired fonts you see everywhere? Same old, same old. This pair is older than everyone but Gen X and the boomers. The plotting module is an example of the twin perils of taking the defaults. Often the map won't be as prominent as we would like, and unlimited flexibility. I show how to divide the canvas with a grid layout and show the details of adjusting title, map, legend, caption, and optional text. Colors are another challenge. There are over 600 named colors to choose from. These are just the pinks. There are another 1,000 color combinations. These are just the first six. It's not enough to find color combinations that are pleasing to the eye. They serve different purposes. For data that progresses from less to more, sequential palettes that go from lighter to darker are indicated. This plays on the cognitive bias that darker is more. Data that diminishes or increases from a center point are handled by diverging color palettes, and unordered data, think political parties, have distinct colors. Julia mapping has an accessory package that helps manage palettes. Especially in politics and the social sciences, it's easy to make maps that look all the same if you are not careful. How about that? The four big states of California, Texas, Florida, and New York have the most people, the most deaths, and the most money. They also had the most deportations in the first half of 2025. But this time Texas was number one. But look what happens when we look at death rates. Now the big four lag many other states, and West Virginia has come to the fore. One of the stories of the 2024 election was that non-college educated voters pulled for Trump. The percentage of the non-college educated voters explained 74% of the variation in the GOP margin in Ohio at a high level of confidence. But the map tells a different story. In some Ohio counties, the education effect in favor of Trump was strong, but only in the red rural counties. But most counties, those in pink, the education effect was missing. None of the purple swing counties had strong education effects, and none of the aqua Democratic counties did either. Another type of map you may not often see is the dot density map. This map of changes in Kansas wheat production from 1950 to 2017 illustrates that sometimes symbols beat color. We can see the counties that had the greatest changes by counting the cross symbols in each. We haven't gone totally over to online media, which has unlimited color. There are still outlets in black and white, such as academic journals. For those, there are either shades of gray or patterns. A chapter shows how to use the curated set of patterns that the U.S. Geological Survey employs in its famous maps. The book ends with a fascinating case study. In 1854, Dr. John Snow, the father of epidemiology, identified the source of a cholera outbreak in London by carefully plotting the residences of victims relative to the 8 neighborhood water pumps. He identified the Broad Street pump as the culprit, persuaded the municipal authorities to remove the handle, and new cases vanished. What if he had modern tools of spatial analysis? He would have been able to come to the same conclusion as soon as the first day's 70 deaths were located, saving many more lives. When data comes in the large economy size of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of records, spreadsheets become even less capable of handling it. Julia interfaces well with databases, especially those featuring spatial data types. But wait, there's more. A companion website provides full resolution copies of the maps, complete code, and a clickable list of all URLs. In addition, it provides formal documentation for the 5 packages developed for use with the text. To come are video supplements. That's the rundown. Thanks for watching. Look for a serialized version to appear soon. Bye for now.